Okay, so it's Monday, the 26th of 2026. And I guess what I'm going to do here is come on more frequently. I think for the rest of the month, I'm going to try to come on every day and try to move things forward here. Um, my computer has been acting up again. So this is the reason why I'm doing this right now. So I'm trying to get out as much as I can before I think there's a good chance. I'm not wishing it, but there's been ongoing complications with the computer that I've been using. Got it fixed a couple times, and it's just old, you know, replacing parts on it. But I really need a new computer or have the thing completely redone. So again, coming on so that I can try to take advantage of actually when it's working. The very thing that it was doing before, I'm just taking up time here waiting for people to show up. The very thing that it was doing before, which was the fan went out on it, and it could have done a lot of damage to it. Fortunately, it didn't do that much damage to it. It did affect it for sure, but fortunately, I'm able to be on here now. But it's doing the same thing each time I get up, or if I use it in the morning, it's making noise as it did before, which is the fan. I can't exactly take it back to the place because I have no transportation to be able to do that. Lost my transportation about 3 years ago. So, anywho, Q&A, as far as what's going on, anybody wants to talk about anything, I'm just going to keep talking to myself, I guess, here for a while. I'll be here for, I don't know, however long I'm led to be here. And if people start showing up, then that'll be a different story. All right. Open topic, open subject, primarily. Anything anybody wishes to discuss. It'd be nice if somebody showed up. Is this mic on? Crying out loud. All right, so I'm just going to start looking at stuff that I have in front of me. No plans. Improvised everything. So, hello, Shirley. Nice to have you here. Thank you for showing up. It's an open topic. Whatever anybody wants to talk about, questions, whatever it may be. And I'm just going to wing it. I'm just going to go through stuff based on where I'm kind of led to go, just for myself. And hopefully anything that I share is going to be beneficial. It's always my intention, anyhow. All right. I guess I can just kind of give an overview as far as what I am planning on doing and preparation for that. The plan is, of all times, this is very interesting, of all times, because for those who live in the States, understand that there's a whole lot of civil unrest taking place right now, and it's ever increasing. And of all times, this is the time I choose, or should I say, this is the time that is chosen for me to go back into the world and be of service in the public sector. In other words, the intention is to go on tour. The direction is to go on tour. And this is not really a peaceful time in order for that to take place. But, got to go with where you're led, And things are timely. They're always timely, even though they may not seem to be convenient, Occupied. I'm not sure I'm following the context of that. I guess I can ask the question, is my voice loud enough? Because I've been having issues with that. So I'll repeat that a few times. Everybody let me know if there's any issues on the audio. It should be working fine. I see all indications here is that my levels are quite good. But anyhow, to get back on the subject at hand. So going out there in the public and being of service and ministering, from my old days, this is actually an appropriate time to be doing it. However, there's a lot of preparation in doing that because you have to guard yourself spiritually. There has to be preparation. You have to walk within a state of protection, so that what you do actually matters. And sometimes that, in a lot of cases, that's been the situation at hand when I used to do things on that level. And but today is a little bit different. This is a different hour that I'm in. Like I said, there's a lot of civil unrest that's ever increasing. And it's not like I'm not aware of this stuff, but this is the time for me to do it. There's been a lot of preparation over the years, decades, for this hour. So that's what I'm preparing for, have been preparing for. So I don't know how it's going to go about getting done, actually, because there's a lot of things in relationship to this, and financially, that's one of them. And there was a potential assistance for that, which somebody came to me and they were looking to assist for that. And I could no longer communicate with them for some reason. Well, I know the reason, but they kind of just backed away. And so I just gave them the opportunity to politely step away and try to resolve the co-creative agreement that was made. So either way, it's going to be something that I'm doing. I never really know what I'm going to be doing, or should I say how I'm going to go about doing it. It's just doing it, or preparing to do it, making myself available, and putting forth the intention. It's always been that way for me, and so why should it be any different now? So, excuse me. All right, thank you for the report on the audio. I got it pretty cranked up in here. So I noticed yesterday I was part of a podcast, and I was all over the map on that one. The questions that were being asked for me, I didn't really directly answer, which I normally don't directly answer questions specifically unless I'm focused on that. And I enjoyed the company of Nutai and Nikki T. And they're very wonderful people, and I really enjoyed just being in their presence, which was quite the blessing for me. So I just want to shout out to them and say thank you for having me on and spending the time with them at that particular time, which was great. Anyway, so before I digress any further, um, I'm just going to go through stuff, okay? I have no specific idea what I'm going to do. I'm looking through my musical folder at this point. That I have several folders that has my songs that I've cataloged and lyrics written out for. And so I thought maybe I can kind of go over what I did a while back. And this has to do with the ceremony of the Taran that I put together. That's what I called it. And I was doing a breakdown on it. And within Patreon, I have it all. I wrote it out through my phone when my computer didn't work. I spent the whole day writing it down and posting it in Patreon, and also was able to do a little audio track so people can pronounce what's intended to be sung. And I would like to kind of go over the Jalisic layers of the Taran, the tones for that, the frequency that makes up those Jalisic layers. And if one goes back to some of the older streams, you can see within the titles of those. Go on my page here for YouTube and look at the live, and you click on the live, and then it'll take you to all the lives that I've been doing. That's primarily what I've been posting. That's what's been. I haven't really created too many videos, probably a couple or a few, maybe. I'm not quite sure, but you'll find within the titles there concerning the Taran. I would recommend going through some of that, and perhaps maybe the latest one. And I'd just like to be able to go over some of that right now. And all right. All right. So this is from the portion in originally the title for this. I gave different titles for this, but originally the titles that were given were the original titles. I have a tendency to stray from that because there's been complications with all that stuff. And as an example, Lisa Renee was sued by that production company, and everybody knows what I'm talking about. Hopefully they do. And so she changed the names. Thank you for the super chat. That's awesome. That's cool. I like the graphics you got going on there. All right. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Yeah, so this is the Adama Torna. And so there's 9 layers, okay, for the Jalisic construct of the Taran, which is you can think of it as being the personal Ekasha. It is the connection of the monad, okay? And we are the monad, boots on the ground. We're not part of. I mean, from this perspective, you can say, oh, we're part of. But in truth, we're not really part of. We are the monad, okay? You're never severed. The only way that you come into manifest reality is through the focus of the monad, the station of identity of soul. You can think of that as being the focus of the monad, and we're dreaming ourselves. experiencing self differently for the purpose of accumulating expansive awareness of potentiality. Okay, in other words, I like to refer to it as perpetuating creation through the expansion of experiencing self differently. And as far as past, present, and future, there's really not a past and present and future. There's just different degrees of frequency within the field. So here's an example of this. I'll get to the Torn and the layers and everything, but this is important to understand. This is the way that I interpret it. This is not things that was taught. These are the things that I came to know within me. And that I would recommend that for everybody. What you know innately, utilize that and meditate on it and contemplate, and things will come from that in the way that for you to be able to understand things on a personal level deeper. Okay, just saying. So the keyboard here, okay, oops. Think of the morphogenic field or the grid, the combination, the Partakai grid, you know. Think of it as a fixed structure, like the keyboard, okay? And you're going to have, be it that this is a harmonic structure, it's you can refer to it as sound and light. You can think of it as frequency, right? So frequency is the oscillation and the vibration and oscillation within wavelength. As an example, that's a very low oscillation. It's a very long wavelength. But if I move up an octave, now it's faster. And then I'll move up again, and it's faster again. And, right? Right? So that's not, it can be interpreted as higher, but in truth, it's actually faster. So I don't think of higher self, I just think of faster oscillation, because that's the truth. And again, the grid, which the time matrix is, it's all the same thing. Different function, but the same thing, is within what we would consider, which we would consider or can look at it as past, present, and future, is in relationship to oscillation, how the wavelength. So this is the same note as an example, but that is two. See, these two notes are the same, but the difference is one is faster than the other. Okay, they're an octave apart, right? Those are points of frequency, which you can say are points of time. Okay, so the future, you can think of it as being faster oscillation. The past is slower oscillation. All right, so when the monad is focusing, it's creating a multitude of these focuses of self within different experiential moments, some very close to one another, just variations of, like this life that I'm having. I've experienced myself in other so-called timelines or frequency oscillation moments that were very similar. In fact, one that I had was everything was the same except for one thing. Okay? And then I had another experience where it was I had children, which I don't have in this particular life. That was a choice that was made, a pre-choice that was made. So all these different experiences are taking place simultaneously within the timeline. Okay? Or points of frequency or points within the timeline. There's a multitude of that taking place. So when looking at the process of reintegration through ascension is what we see with the Adama Torna. Okay, I gave a different name for it, but I'll just go ahead and use that name. And what I ended up doing is I created a transliteration of the tones and put it into a summary, which I turned into a song. Um, so I'm going to go over those and just go over the summary here. That's what I had intended to do. So I just want to say greetings to everybody and thank you for being here. And once I start talking, I have a tendency to kind of try to focus with what I'm doing. So if I'm not ignoring you, honestly, I'm just trying to stay on track with where I'm going because there was no plan for me to do anything. So in order for me to kind of stay on track, I have to focus on what I'm doing. So thank you all for being here. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for the super chat. It's really awesome. It's always great to always see people here during these lives. I value that greatly. So thank you again. All right, so the first tone is inaka, and then we have maja, then we have taur, and then we have iuka, ketha, then jada, nida. Make sure I can see what I'm doing here. I think I'll just hold it because I can't really see it in front of me. It's hiding from me. So I have this memorized, but I'm just reading it just so I can stay on track. Inaka maja taur iuka ketha jadaida taur iuka etha jafa edama nadaor itorna atma. Okay, so I'll go over those one by one and read the summary or connection to it, transliteration of the tones. This is something that I did. You won't find this anywhere else. Just saying. When I go into things based on what I'm led to do, and it's important for people to understand. If you're interested in this, it's important to understand it because it's not just about, getting acquainted with it. It's like it helps to really know what it's about. So that's the reason why I broke it down in a summary. Okay, so inaka, which means of the one we move into the light. From vibrational intention, we manifest form from primal sound to primal light. Maja, now we be liquid luminescent light, or now the divine sea of liquid light, which the tones for that would be, the anahazi as it would be called, is un or e or nam or. Okay. Tower. Okay. Tower is the proper pronunciation for that is tower. Okay. There's tower and then there's taor. Yeah. They're spelt differently and they do sound differently and they have a different meaning or related meaning. So tower, the pillar of living water from which flows the river of life. So we're talking about the Christic River, okay? Within, as I mentioned before, within Christianity, it's just in reference to the river of life, okay? Iuka, ketha, sound and light expressed through the divine mind. Jada, now experiencing paradise, now manifest. Ida, eternal paradise. Sounds like Eden. That's because that's really where it is. That's what it's referring to. Taor, okay, again. Within the pillar of living water, the tower of the source. Okay. And knowing that we are that, but boots on the ground, right? Now I'm going to kind of back up on this a little bit so perhaps it's understood better. We're looking at the gelisic, which is referred to as the gelisic layers of the Taran. Okay, so it's circles within circles. There's a process of ascension. So you're going back to the point of origin of entering within this particular design construct or source field, as it would be. I'm not talking about the idea of dimensions. I'm talking about the whole thing, the whole construct design within the source field. So we're talking about ascension in regard to going back to the point of origin. That's what's happening from the outer layer into the inner core layer. As I'm going through these tones, this is in chronological order to that, the process of ascension. So 9 layers, okay? So each one of these layers or tone is describing this state, okay? I guess I probably should have said something about that before you got started. So I'll go over this again, all right? But I'll go ahead and finish it out and go back over it. So Tau Or, within the pillar of living water, the tower of source, of the source. Iuka, Etha, of sound and light, eternal. Jaffa, here in which soul takes on manifest form. Adama, this is the Adamic eternal flame, the son of Jada. What is Jada? Now experiencing paradise, now manifest. Okay. And that son is not referenced to S-O-N, it's S-U-N. Okay. The Adam, son of source. Nadaor, the atom that holds the eternal doorway of the first creation point. Itorna, Atma, the eternal source, tower of souls. Okay? I'm going to go back over this, but before I do, I would like to hear from you if that's possible. Are you able to hear me properly, and do you understand what I'm talking about here? I mean, are you familiar with it at all? Okay, because I see a couple people that I'm not familiar with. I haven't seen your names before, so I'm just asking the questions so I know how to address this or speak on it, and let me know if you're interested in this. Otherwise, if you're not interested in this, I can just move on to something else. But I'm going to take a pause here for a second just to get some feedback from you folks, and let me know what you think, or interject, based on what I, asked of you, so that I know where you stand and where things are at for you in regard to this. Do you understand what I'm talking about here? You're familiar a little? Okay. Here's the other question I would have. Am I explaining it in a way that you're able to grab onto it? I mean, are you getting something from it? Is it something that you're understanding? And if you don't, please let me know what that is, and I will look to address that and try to make it more clearer, okay? Because this is stuff I've been doing for a while here, and so there's a lot of other material that's related to this that I've gone over and done before, so. Okay, fair enough. And as I had mentioned before, it's one would just need to go to my channel where it says live, and you can see within the titles of those lives, and you can pick and choose that would be related to what I'm talking about here. Anything to do with the Taran, and also in Patreon. Like I said, I had posted a normally I would have created a PDF, but my computer was down and everything, like I said, and I had, typed it out by hand. Took a day to do that, so people could have access to that, which was the process of this, what I was referring to as the ceremony of the Taran. And, and there's a audio clip that goes along with that there. So you can go there to get more familiar. At least you can have materials there. It's my intention to put that in a PDF now, while the computer's still working. I've been having issues with it still yet. Same thing that happened before it went down. So I'm going to look to try to do that today, where I can turn that into what I have on Patreon into a PDF, file, so people can download it and have that available. So I'm just going to go ahead. Like I said, if anybody has any questions, go ahead and I'll periodically look and take a look and see what you guys are writing. So all right, I'm going to go back over this, like I said, in chronological order. And again, we're looking at, I don't know if I have any graphics for this on this particular I used to. Let me see if I can. Let me see. Yeah. Okay. All right. Bear with me here. I'm looking for a very specific thing. It's been a while since I've done all this. It's been months. All right. Also, since I'm um, doing this, in Patreon, there is a series that I was doing. It was more like a course. And eventually, what I was thinking of doing, and I started to do that, but there wasn't enough people to come in on that. And so I ended up doing some one-on-ones for that. And so if you go to Patreon, you'll see the course for our multidimensional anatomy. Okay, and that's what you're looking at here is a breakdown of this in relationship to what is called the anchoring of the monad. So let me see here. Okay. Okay. I don't think I have what I'm looking for. Okay, nope. I just went over all this. I'm just making sure all right. It's not there. Like, I had all this stuff on here once before, and I had to re-upload it and configure it because I lost everything because my computer went down and I almost lost all my information, actually. I lost a lot of it. I almost lost everything. So I had to redo this again. So I'm trying to look through this. Mostly what I got here is a lot of music, which is where I'm going with everything now. I'm going with music like I had mentioned and had been talking about. I want to go on tour. I don't know how I'm going to go on tour. I don't know how it's going to be financed, but most things I've done, the majority of everything that I've done, it's always been just do it and then not be concerned about how it's going to get done. And I can't play any of the music because I have this configured differently. So in order for me to do it differently, I have to go on the other side and plug other stuff in so that you can hear this other stuff because I have a lot of audio on here that it doesn't come through. All right, I guess I don't have it. Dag nabbit. Anyhow, so yeah, I go take a look at the lives and look at the titles and anything with the Tauren in it, spelled Tauren. Anything with that title in it, I would, just take a look at that and kind of glean through that. Let me go ahead and go back over this again. All right. I was looking for something that would help you visualize, and I couldn't find it because it's not there. So, again, we're looking at if you can think of circles, okay? Think of 9 circles. You have an outer layer and then another circle in that, another circle in that. So that's 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3. So it's in a triune fashion, okay? Moving 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, okay? And again, this is in reference to the Tauren, okay? And I'm going to go through each layer. So the first layer is Inaka, okay? Then the next layer, right? Second layer, outer layer, coming in is, the tone for that is Maja. And the next one is Taor, right? Then Iyuka, okay? And Ketha is an added word there for defining it more clearly, okay? So iyuka ketha, jada, ida, taor, iyuka etha, again, another adding to the word for further definition of the word, or intention, you could say. Jaffa, edama, nadaor, itor na atma. Okay, I'm going to go back over the summary here. Inaka means of the one. We move into light from vibrational intention. We manifest form from the primal sound field. This is the first entry point into this source consciousness field. Okay? The primal sound field into primal light. Light is an inversion from the vibration. It's a projection. Okay? So the primal light fields are a projection of the primal sound fields. Maja, which is the second layer, right? Now we be liquid luminescent light. Okay, this is in reference to the blueprint, right? So this is 12th dimensional blueprint. This is actually where the manifest construct begins. The jumping off point is the primal sound fields, primal light fields. Within Keylontic science, it's referred to as the founders. Okay, so that's our identity there. And then moving into now, which is the expression of manifest reality. Okay, this Maja, the second layer, now we be liquid luminescent light. Now, I had an experience probably, 6 years ago, whatever it was. I'm not quite sure. It's been a while, maybe 7, where it was awake. I was in a waking state, and I was multitasking as I would normally do. And earlier in my life, I had this issue with flickering on the side of my eye here. It was like a light flickering. And I also would have it on this side too, but I would have it on this side more. And so at one particular time, like I said, about 7 years ago, however long it's been a while, all of a sudden that flickering got brighter and brighter and brighter. Next thing you know, it just covered my whole entire vision. And next thing I know, I was in that which was referred to as the blueprint. I was in this liquid luminescent light. It's like walking into it. I was just there, but I'm completely in a waking state. It wasn't something planned or anything like that. It just happened. And there's a description. See if I can. Give me a second here. Hold that thought, okay? I need to go get some materials that I have so I can be exact with the description of this, okay? So give me a second. I'll be right back. By the way, hello, everybody. Those who are new and people showing up. I'll be right back. So. Okay. In Portland. Wow. A lot of stuff going on in there. That's for sure. All across the states here. That's probably one of the places, well, at least is one of the places I'm familiar with. Oh, okay. You have to give me a moment here, if you don't mind. I have so many things that I got going on. I get busy and I forget, especially when I leave certain things unattended for like months at a time because I can't. I have to focus on other stuff. So it takes me a while to figure out actually where I have some of this stuff at, even though I have it cataloged and organized. Let me see here. I think. It has to be in here. So no, maybe not. Maybe not. I know it has to be somewhere here. Ah, here we go. Yes. Thank you for your patience. um, I have to become more acquainted with how I have this stuff listed and categorized. All right, so what I was referring to again was yeah. All right. So I'm this is in reference to, if anybody's familiar with the idea of the 11th and 12th dimensional consciousness band. You can refer to it as, dimensional. I prefer to use consciousness band because this is a consciousness construct. All right, so what I experienced, and I'm going to go back over that because at least at the time when I started talking about this, it was in context to what I'm speaking on in regard to the layers of Jaleesic layers of the Taran. Okay, because we're talking about consciousness bands, states of consciousness. You can refer to that as dimensions. So the tone for the 11th dimension is hara, and then for the 12th it's ma'a. Okay, and the color or the spectra, okay, is pale metallic, platinum silver, and luminescent white. And that's exactly what it looked like. And like I said, this goes back 7 years, maybe longer than that, maybe closer to 8 years, that I had this experience. Like I said, I was in front of my computer, I was multitasking, and I had this issue with the flickering thing throughout my life. Had to do with my upper cervical instability, okay, which goes back to when I was 6 months old. Long story short, it just became brighter and brighter to where it just covered my complete vision. And next thing you know, I'm like inside this. I'm in it, okay? And I tried to describe it before, but when I seen the description of it here, I go, that's exactly what it looked like. It was a combination of a pale metallic platinum silver. That's a really good description because that's really what it was. But it's very luminescent, almost you could say like, oh gosh, it just so much more vibrant than anything here, But that is it's the best description, really. But it's the experiences. It's hard to really communicate experiences. But anyhow, so pale metallic, platinum silver, and luminescent white. That's how it was. And anyhow, put this back over here. This kind of lost my train of thought for where I was going with this. I took too long to try to find that folder. But anyhow, just recap on this. So with these gelasic layers, we're looking at 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, circles within circles. This is the Taran. This is the Partiki, okay, in regard to the structural form, all right? And if you don't know what that is, like I said, you go back to some of these lives. I have graphics and everything, and I go into this in a lot of detail. If I had it here, if I could call it up and show it to you, then I certainly would do that. But I just don't have it on this for the reasons I stated earlier. Anyhow, so I'm gonna briefly go back over this again, and I'm sure what I was referring to in regard to the description of the 12-dimensional blueprint. And I know it was in reference to vibration that's the code, the vibration, and the inversion of that, which is the projection of that, which would be light. So Inaka, as being the first outer layer of the Taran, the summary for all these tones defines it a lot better, allows you to connect your intention much better, and that's the whole reason for me doing this, right? So Inaka, of the one, we move into light. From vibrational intention, we manifest form from the primal sound fields into the primal light fields. Inversion, projection. Maja, now we be liquid luminescent light. Now I know where I left off at. Okay, so un ur e or nam or, now the divine sea of liquid light. That's the tone for the expression in Anahazi for that 12th dimensional blueprint. And within that state, you are that luminescent light that I'm referring to, and as far as with my experience that I had with it and the description I gave of that in regard to the spectra or color of it. It's exactly that. It's a liquid light state. So next tone is Taor, okay? The pillar of living water from which flows the river of life. And this is not figurative, this is literal, okay? It is water, okay? You'll see water structure on the very atomic, on the very atomic level, it's crystalline. It's a crystalline structure, everything. All right, so Iyuka, Ketha, sound and light expressed through the divine mind. Jada, now experiencing paradise, now manifest. So again, there's an ascension process going on from each layer. From the outer layer, mantle, then, the next layer, and then the core of that, and then again, the outer of that, and then the next layer, then the core of that. And this is 9 different layers, right? So Jada, now experiencing paradise, now manifest. And again, Jada, the son or S-U-N of Jada, the Adam, son of source. Okay, so Jada, now experiencing paradise, now manifest, that layer. Ida, eternal paradise, the very layer of itself, preceding, or should I say post, in regard to the ascension process. Taor, within the pillar of living water, the tower of the source. And again, emphasizing this is you can think of it as a water tower, or that which would be a pillar of water. Okay, not like a water tower, but in the sense how we would perceive and understand a water tower here, but actually a pillar would be a better description of it, So an Iyuka, of sound and light eternal. Um, Jaffa, here in which soul takes on manifest form. Okay. Then Adama, the Adamic eternal flame, the son of Jada, the Adam, son of Source. Nadaor, the atom that holds the eternal doorway of the first creation point. And Inuka, Itorna Atma, the eternal source, tower of souls. So all this is really, in a nutshell, as you can see, is a process of ascension back to the point of origin. Okay. And that's what the ceremony is all about. And it's just, I mean, when you come into manifest reality, it's important at some point to begin practicing practicing your awareness without content. And what I mean by content is in regard to your personality. That's content. You're not looking at this from personality. It's like I'm a personality, I'm this body, and blah blah blah. No, it's not looking at any of that. It's looking at what you are that transcends all that, because the experience that you're having, this personality and everything, it's a way to experience self differently. It's not who you are. You are your awareness. I'll give you an example for this that you can practice. It's really easy and everybody does it. They're just not aware of it, fully. But it becomes easy once you realize what you're actually contemplating or within that certain state. If you go anywhere where you have some solitude, maybe even it's a time of sleep or whatever, and you have those moments where there's not a realization of you as a body. There's not a realization of you as a personality. There's not a realization of what you look like or anything related here. You just have this moment of silent awareness of self. That's who you are, not all this other stuff. And when you make the transition leaving this body, it's important to let go of all of this. And there's reasons to let go of it. I won't talk about it right now because I'm getting kind of tired, honestly. But it's important. It really is important to be fluid, okay? To be fluid, not allowing belief systems to enter into that space. Knowing self for what self truly is. Without language, without judgment of experience of any kind. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's practicing awareness without content. I really like that phrase, so I have a tendency to use it here now more. It kind of sums up everything. But yep, sure enough. However you wish to look at it, but that's what it is. And we need to prepare ourselves as, we're moving into the next stage. And for myself especially, I'm here at the latter end of this incarnation. Hence the reason why it's important for me to be going to the next chapter. And the things that I'd done before, I won't be doing anymore, at least not in the same way. I want to get out into the world and do what I was doing before because it's part of what was intended. And that's a long story that I'm sure nobody's really too interested in, but it's a lifetime thing. And so returning to that, I have no idea how I'm going to go about going on tour. I have no idea whatsoever. All I have is the intention and the direction and leading for it, the drive, if you will, for it. It's the next stage. And when we're sensitive to what's going on, we're going to move from chapter to chapter. You want to try to keep from staying in the same place, too long. Be aware of that ongoing uh, unfolding writing of the book, if you will, of your initial intention for coming in here. There's a lot of probabilities, but on the outside, you can say outside of this manifest incarnation, there was a lot of planning going on, and there was very selective choices being made, right down to the day and year of your birth, which is very significant, by the way. Yeah, it everything is highly calculated from the outside. There's when you come into it, there's a lot of variables, okay? But the probability, you narrow down the probability as much as possible. Because, again, to emphasize, there is a multitude of ourselves experiencing self simultaneously in different ways. They're all different. None of them are exactly the same. Some are the complete antithesis. But that's what's going on. I like to refer to it as the monad boots on the ground. So we're data collectors, which is a true and a proper description. Yeah, because it's all about expansion and perpetuating creation through the experiencing of self differently. Yes. All right, folks. So if there's anything anybody would like to talk about, I'm up for it. You have any questions or anything you would like to share, feel free. That's what this place is for. Everything I know, I learned on the streets. This was a gift to me. I really like this shirt. Everybody seems to like it too. It's like tongue in cheek, making fun. It's kind of funny. Well, everybody, thank you. You're most welcome. I'm going to try to come on every day. If I don't do it, then there's a reasons why I'm not going. Wasn't able to come on. But I'm going to try to do live streams every day. Basically about around the same time. Yeah, usually around 10 o'clock, somewhere around there. In the morning. Well, at least my time, 10 o'clock. Pacific Standard Time. Hey, David. How you doing, bud? Just moving forward, my friend. Commonly not doing things that I want to do. I do things. I just do them. It's sort of like the idea of I was doing a podcast yesterday. Natai and Nikki had me on as a guest, and I referred to an expression from a French friend that I had earlier in my life. And if you're not hungry, sit down at the table and have something to eat. It stimulates the appetite. So it's always in the doing of things that stimulates the desire to do it. Plenty of things I'd rather not do. I don't want to do it. But I just sit down and do it, or whatever, however I would go about doing it. And it stimulates the process. Chip away at the stone, so to speak, a little bit at a time. Sometimes a little bit more than others. It's just a matter of doing. Everything is about actuating energy through the process of intention, and intention is vibratory, and it's thought. It begins with a thought, then you just act on the thought and give birth to it in some way. So like sitting down, I could or could not do that. So I decided to go ahead and do that. And then I want to do more of it. I've been wanting to do live concerts, live streams, concerts. But I wanted to make sure that the audio was coming through good enough, and I've been kind of like dealing with that, because when I start playing, I don't know what it sounds like on the other end, so I've been trying to record and trying to hear and trying to create a balance, and without the vocals being too loud, and usually they're not loud enough, and it's having good mic technique, right? Like with what I'm doing right now, I'm really on top of the microphone, and you can't really sing when you have your voice right on top of the microphone like this. It'll distort. So it's a balancing act with that. So I just been it would be nice to be able to just go to, or be able to play and not have to be worried about any of this stuff, I just feel free to be able to do and move around without having technical difficulties. So I've been kind of juggling the idea of doing that, but I want to still not confident that it's actually working on the other end properly, especially when I start playing. I don't stay in front of the microphone all that well. It's physical, so you're moving around. You can't help that. And so how do I use my birth date? Oh, okay. Well, that is a subject matter that I'm not really prepared to go into in depth about, but everything is related. Everything is calculated. And so we're looking at this structure. We're looking at, you can think of it as harmonic, right? It's sound and light. But when you start looking at sound and light, or you start looking at sound in general, you start seeing mathematics, right? Like music, it's very mathematical, but there's a very obvious intention behind it, that it's fluid, okay? So in regard to the birth date, that's a very specific thing. So each digit represents a certain aspect of, for lack of terms, I'll use, I guess, I'm trying to think of an adjective that describes this the best. Sorry, I went totally blank on that. I know what it is, but I can't explain it that well, because I can't think of the term that I want to use, which would really help. Let's say temperament. That's not the term I was looking for, but let's say the type of temperament that you are, which is it gives way to how you do things and how you want things done and stuff like that. And are you a person who starts things but doesn't really finish things? And then you'll have somebody who can start things, but they're also very keen with the ability to go in and finish the things that were once started by somebody else. They have that ability to do that. So you have a list from within birth dates, which would be the last digit, 1 through 9, right? Okay. And 0, if you're born on a 0, which means you would hold all those other digits as far as their function and abilities. And I'm one of those. I always thought I was just weird. Well, I am weird, but I never felt to fit in anywhere, and I was always going in many directions at the same time. And when I when that information crossed my path, I seen the logic in it and I understood it. But mostly, I seen it in practicality in regards to the experience that I've been having with myself here. You know, and it made it easier for me to accept certain things. It just made more sense. I go, okay. But the bigger picture of that is that we're calculating all these things prior to coming in. You know, one's not better than the other. Okay, one is not better than the other. You know, like if you hold all these other things, that doesn't make it better. It just means that's the incarnate experience for that particular embodiment. In this case, for me. Okay, so. Yeah, well, I just trying to be simple, Robert. I don't want to get into all the jargon and everything. I mean, I've been refraining from doing that for a long time. I purposely have been trying to make things really simple because there's a lot of language that's being used within, as the example, chelantic science. Most people don't even know what any of that is. And for me, for what I've been doing and dealing with the public, and it's important for me to speak in common language and common understanding. So I've been taking complicated things and making them as simple as I possibly can. So yeah, it's mathematical. We can do a deep dive on that, but what's the point? It's your intention that really matters in the long run. And knowing that when you're being directed here, you know that it's on a soul level, and knowing the difference. Pointing out those things and being aware of those things it's much more important than the technicalities. That's for sure. None of this should be complicated. It's not. Can't be. I mean, it's hard enough here to begin with, okay? We don't need anything that adds to that pot. So. Hopefully that came across proper. I never mean to offend anybody. I'm just part of my personality. Sometimes it seems like it comes across in the wrong way, and I never mean ever mean any offense to anybody, and neither am I trying to correct anybody. I'm more interested in knowing that what I'm saying is making sense, you know? And so I try to clarify that. Well, you come to find out, Robert, and this has been my experience, because I have a lot, and before chelantic science came along, I was. And my experiences transcend anything that I've had in chelantic science. You don't need that. You need just personal awareness. And, you know, however you go about getting that or becoming reacquainted with that, it's fine. But no, there's always more. And there's always different ways to be able to perceive things and to know things through that awareness on from an individuated aspect. So, you know, my recommendation is when you're talking to people, don't talk to people within a certain thing that they're not going to relate to. You know, make it simple as possible and just speak from a position from where they're at, you know? I mean, when somebody's talking to me, I don't like them to talk at me, and I don't like to talk at people, you know? I've been around for a while, and I learned certain things are expedient and certain things are just not, you know? Simple awareness of what you are that transcends this personality, that transcends this experience, it transcends this body. It transcends this identity. Those things everybody can do if you give them the simple tools, and everybody does it anyhow. They're aware of it, but they don't consider it. When they're able to consider these simple points of awareness, like being in between the state of waking and sleeping, coming in back into the body, and you have this just clear awareness. You're not thinking about what you look like. You're not thinking about your identity. You're not thinking about your body. That's that moment where you're just this, you're that awareness. You're that conscious awareness that transcends this experience. And if you can give somebody a tool to say, well, that's who you really are, that sticks with them, because everybody has that. They just never really think about it here because, it is what it is. And it's like it's a double effect here. The idea of coming into this is intended. It's not like, we're victimized and, oh, we got to fix all this stuff. No, this was intended. Everything that we did here, we come into this is like blank slated. Yeah, we intended that. Yeah. We intended to come into this. And when you start looking at it from that point of view, you go, well, that's a pretty miraculous thing. And it's a blessing, because having that sense of separation is so unique and beautiful. It can be very, very beautiful. And what I say is cherish the moment. But at the same time, being able to have one foot in and one foot out, realizing what you're experiencing, but not losing the experience, because now you're aware of the transcendence of self. Within the transition, leaving the body, it's important to know that what this really was, so you can let go of it. Hi, Daphne. I've been on here an hour, almost an hour and a half, I guess. I'm here for the duration. So whatever that means. And I would like to say hi to everybody again. Okay. Yeah. Nice shirt, huh? It was a gift. And one of the people in the chat right now is the one who gave it to me. You can guess who it is. Hi, Daphne. So, does anybody want to talk about anything? I mean, just anything. It could be anything. Let me backtrack here to see if I can see. I mean, the chat's kind of moving along here, so I'm going to go back and see if I can see anything. I know Robert has been leaving comments here, and I've been kind of responding, and it's not necessarily responding to your comments, Robert. Like I said, I'm just letting known, way I go about doing things, and this is the way I see fit to do them. So, and I've been doing that for quite a long time. I know a lot more than what I say. Okay. What's important is how other people can benefit from what I say, and I need to communicate it in a way that it's, simple. Because the bottom line, it's really simple, and it's important for us. We can complicate it all we want, but I prefer simple, and most people do. So I just go with based on how I'm led, my internal knowing and awareness. Indigo Wizard. Cool. I like that. Let me see here. Oops. Trying to move this thing. Learning speed build at first terminals. Okay. Sorry about the plosive here. I was just reading David's comment. He says, Randy, however, I like to offend occasionally. I do understand that. Yeah. Well, thank you, Kimberly. Um, doing what I know to do, doing what I can. I appreciate that. Thank you. Alrighty then. Let me see. I think I'm caught up here. Well, thanks for the super chat. Thank you, Indigo Wizard. I didn't see that earlier. Thank you so much. I'm not in a hurry, Robert. I don't need to, personally, I don't need to speed anything up. Just saying. Each to their own. This is just my platform from which I communicate, and this is the way I do it. So, I don't expect anybody to like it or to like it. I'm just doing what I know to do, and I'm very content with doing it the way that I do it. So, like I said, I've been around for a while. There's a lot of things I know that I don't say anything about. I've had plenty of experiences and put things to the test. A lot of things look good on paper, but I've lived through a lot of those things, and I find certain things to be valuable, and I find other things just to be just a lot of information that doesn't mean anything to me. So I don't expect anybody to embrace that, but also I don't go the other route either. I don't bend about certain things. I've been there, done that. Like I said, before Keylontic Science was, I was. A lot of my earlier experiences transcends anything that I had with that. Head knowledge doesn't mean anything. Wisdom and application means something. And mostly demonstration through power, meaning manifest the power. Healing people that have cancer, things like that. Those things that actually have substance to them. I'm just speaking from experience, not through philosophy. So it's important to have your own, not take on somebody else's philosophy. And it helps to stop and listen, and instead of thinking of this is something it took a while for me to be able to do, which was, instead of thinking about what I'm going to say next, it's important to be able to listen, and I mean, it's not a fault, it's just something that we need to be aware of. Okay. It gave me the opportunity to be able to reflect deeper when I started doing that. And there's reasons why I did look to speak before listening. It was out of anxiousness, and a lot of different reasons. A lot of people share the same thing, but I'm just saying it's important to find your own space and realize that this is a co-creative effort. And before you can know what's going on with somebody else, you have to be silent enough to be able to feel in with yourself. Feelings are extremely important, and therefore be able to feel with empathy and connection, what's going on with other people. A lot of times when I'm listening to somebody, or I'm listening and I'm thinking about stuff, because I've kind of trained myself, I'll hear it again, or I'll feel it again. It'll come back like a feedback loop from what that person said. So I don't really miss things that much anymore when I'm having, especially one-on-one communication with somebody. It's like it becomes an imprint. Yeah. Um, Intention, the actuation of energy through conviction is important. You got to move. You know, I use the expression a few times. This will be the second time for this today. I said I had a friend who was French, and he had this expression. Well, the French did, and they like to eat. And if you're not hungry, sit down and have something to eat. It stimulates the appetite. And so it's the same thing with doing, things that we don't want to do or whatever. If we just, okay, sit down and do it, then it stimulates the idea of doing it. Yesterday's podcast was referring to the idea of if you're kind of mopey and you're, for whatever reasons, there's a lot of reasons to be mopey here, but if you find yourself just being kind of goofy and giddy, in the moment, just switch and make up a goofy little song in your head and kind of do a little dance, whatever. However, that's, applicable to you. All of a sudden, you switch. And you're kind of like there. And now you feel like being in that. At least it stimulates it. So it's important to, act on it. I rather know a few things, like 3, and be able to do them, than know 1,000 things and just have an awareness of the possibility. I want to be living it. So for me, that's what's important. Yeah, it's a good practice, Shirley. Yeah, it's a good practice. I think when we're able to be silent within ourselves and just perceive our own eternal awareness, meditation. That's for me. That's meditation. Okay. And that way I can counsel myself in the process. I think when we practice that, which is easy enough for everybody to be able to do, because we do it in one way or another anyhow, the intention is what matters behind it. But yeah, we develop the ability to be able to listen more, you know. That's what's that's something that's grown within me. And also because I had for such a long time, I spent so much time by myself. I became my own counsel, and it's interesting when I'm by myself. There would be moments where I'm talking out loud, like talking to myself, and counseling with myself. And then there's other times where I'm silent and I don't really want to hear anything. I just want to be in that state of peace and walk in that space. And it's important to be able to have time to yourself where you're not busy doing things. You need that solitude moment, and over a period of time that becomes just part of your reflection. And there's a lot that I'll just say there's a lot that I have learned being within that space about myself and about how consciousness works and reminding those reminders coming up. And it's quite simple, really. You just got to give space for it. We don't have to be busy doing things all the time, that's for sure. Even when we're being busy, if that makes any sense. Hey, Ralph. How you doing, brother? Haven't seen you for a while. How's you doing, man? How's you doing? Ay, 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 ay. My neck is starting to really get to me, folks. So I'm going to give this another 10 minutes or so, but I'm going to have to go because I'm getting a lot of pain. Unless you want to just give me a moment where I can go walk away for about 5 minutes and try to deal with this. Can you give me 5 minutes? Doing insanely good? You mean sanely good? Just kidding, man. Just messing with you. A flat, guys. Well, here's an A flat. Yeah, I'll be right back. I'm just gonna. Uh, all right. Oops. Not enough room over here. So I've been interested in the pre-Diluvian time periods and the trees that got cut down and all that. And interestingly enough, here recently I come across a passage, biblical passage, which is Daniel 4, chapter 4, verse 11, in regard to the trees that were once before. And I don't know if I can read this or not because my eyesight's not that good. Okay, the tree grew large and became strong, and its height reached the sky. And the visible, I can't read, I can't see this, but anybody, Daniel 4:11, I need more light. I can't see. Print's too small. There's an old Bible of mine. It has a bunch of stuff I was talking about in the back. I had used write. I had written in this thing. Yeah. Yeah. Anyhow, I'm not going to show you because you can't see it anyhow. But yeah. That's an interesting passage because it's reference to the trees that just went up into the clouds. All these mountains that have flat tops to them. Yeah, those are mountains, sure. Anyhow, yeah, those be the trees, man, and some of them were just, oh gosh, so big, right up into the clouds. And actually, that's not an uncommon thing, from what I understand. I was talking to a friend of mine way back when, and he originated here to here. Or it's a long story how he got here, but he was from Telemedea. Telemedea is another body, 180 degrees from where this at, adjacent to this plane. And the trees there were like palm trees, and they went up into the sky, really huge. Yeah, yeah, definitely, obviously trees. Yeah, you can see this, like, that's a trunk. Yeah. Yeah, and some of these, if you do, like, I actually would like to, I think I might do that. Might do a live stream and just kind of talk a little bit about that stuff and show some pictures and stuff. I find it very interesting. I love trees. And, I mean, the people here used to be a lot bigger too, 25 feet tall, stuff like that. So it kind of makes sense, right? You look at some of these, some of the Tatarian architecture that's still around. Again, the Tatarian architecture, the buildings, and you're looking at these doors. I mean, it's like, who makes doors like that? Unless there's people that need doors that big, right? I mean, these are huge doors, like 25 feet tall doors, 30 feet tall doors. Yeah, obviously. Yeah. Call them giants, but I don't know about that. Maybe it's just the way things were. Things are just a lot different now. Yeah, I think that would be fun to do that. And in fact, I would like to do some other things too, just for fun. Um, uh, yeah, well, yeah, I've been wanting to talk about, and I think that's what I'll do. I can't do it behind here. I have to relocate in order for you to be able to hear some of the stuff um, that it's related to. And I know I'm being very vague. I'll try not to be vague here. It had to do with, like, my experience coming up and certain awareness or remembering was taking place when I was like 23, 24. And there was a movie in 1984 called The Last Starfighter. And I wanted to share a bit about that because that was instrumental for me. Yeah. I like to be able to revisit some of this stuff because it's, I like sharing certain aspects of my story. And I would find it to be something fun for other people as well. Well, yeah, that's interesting that you say that. Indigo Wizard. um, that's something that I'm going to look to do too as well because it's already begun. So if you're interested in doing that, you can hook up with a couple other people that I've already started to do that, and they were looking to connect with one another. So if anybody's really interested in doing that, let me know, and we'll create a linked up community through our channels. I think it's very important that this, it's something that should have been done yesterday, if you know what I mean, yesteryear. But yeah, so cool. Glad to hear that. So easy enough, easy enough. I can I'll get some information together. So for those who are wanting to do that, and doesn't take long. Crikey. All right. Well, you can contact me directly if you want. You just in the description of any video, you'll find my email as well as other ways to contact me and to support the channel. Everything's found in the description of every video. So you can contact me directly, or you can just go into YouTube Studio and put in a search for that, collaborations, and it'll show you how to do that. It's usually in connection to when you're uploading a video. You'll see it. But yeah, there's a video description within YouTube Studio, which is obviously available to you if you have a channel, and it's only like a couple steps. So just subscribe to, it's just whoever you're gonna hook up with. You just subscribe to them. Subscribe to subscribe to their channel, and then when you go ahead, when you link it up, you'll already have that connection with them. And like I said, it's only 2 steps. Yeah, I've been working on the sound, so. David the knee slapper. Well, 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 well. Is there anything anybody would like to talk? I'm starting to fade here, folks. So, is there anything anybody would wish? I'm having a problem forming a sentence here. So, is there anything anybody wish to talk about, discuss? Because I'm going to go ahead and close out here. Who's Davis? Just kidding. Um, well, thanks for dropping by, Ralph. I'd like to see more of you. Core sound. You're talking about what's going on here, how you're hearing me. I'm not quite sure what you're asking about that. Indigo. So, my core sound. Um, well, I'm just gonna guess at what you're talking about there, okay? Because I don't know sure exactly what you mean by that. But um, as far as running instruments and stuff like that, that's pretty easy to run direct and get a decent sound. But my issue has always been the voice, the having the proper audio level without it distorting. It's at the peak level that it can be at this stage. And my mic technique, I have to be on top of it, and the type of microphone that you're using. I prefer, if I could, use a headset mic, which I do have one, but it's like wearing a clothes hanger on your head, and I have issues with my ears and stuff. I can't. I have to put on a padding, like a hat, so I can wear it, but I can't wear it for that long. But the quality of this microphone it's not very good. The headset that I'm referring to, and which allows to be able to play and sing because the microphone follows my head, and because when you're playing, especially if you have the mic, at least for me, when I have the mic right in front of me like this, I can't see what I'm doing on the keyboard. It's just like double vision because I'm looking through the microphone to try to see, and but when wearing this thing is out of the way, and it allows me to be able to focus more on what I'm doing and concentrate on the singing better and all that other stuff. So, but this microphone doesn't really sound that good, and it's kind of noisy. And this one is a SM57, which is mid-range focused. It's more like for guitar recording and mid-range instruments. But it seems to work better than the other microphones that I have. I have one other microphone. This is a Electro Voice PL80, and I've had this for a long time, and it's similar to an SM58. It has more low mids to it, and it's a bit too boomy for me for what I'm using. I mean, like within a live performance or something, I actually prefer to use this maybe, but it doesn't. This one seems to work the best for what I'm doing with this, so that's why I use it. I think I have 3 of these SM57s because they were so cheap at the time, and you can like drop them from. You can throw truck run over these things and they still work. I had another microphone or a couple of them. They just went out. The diaphragms went out on them. I like the sound of them, but they didn't last. This is an older one, PL80. This Electro Voice, and this is built really strong. And again, like the SM57s, they're like built like a tank, for lack of terms or expression. Like I said, you literally can have a truck run over these things and they'll still work. And I'm talking about a big truck. And the sound is pretty good. It's very consistent, It's not my first choice, but it definitely does the job, and it seems to work the best for what I'm doing right now. I'm running it through, it's a dynamic microphone, so I have a preamp that I'm using for it. And I'm running this into the keyboard, the microphone into the keyboard, and then I'm adjusting and EQing it through the keyboard. So that's what's going on here. So like if I'm speaking, I don't know what the keyboard, what the volume looks like or hear it sounds like on the other end. I know it sounds good because it should be in stereo. So if I'm talking like this, you should be able to hear. I can hear myself over the keyboard, but I don't know what it sounds like on your end. So that was really the biggest thing that I've been. It's getting a proper level, and then making sure if I was looking to do live recording or live stream and do live performances, that it actually sounds the way that it needs to sound. There needs to be a balance, but it's kind of, I've been juggling with that. I have to pre-record things in order to hear what's going on and make these incremental adjustments. And again, if I'm using a microphone like this, I have to have proper mic technique, and that makes it difficult for live performance for music because you're moving around and you have to be able to see what you're doing and navigate, and you're not, the idea of being concerned about where you have in the mic position. But if I move out of the way a little bit, all of a sudden you can't really hear me. Can't really hear me when I do that. And things like that happens while you're, little adjustment movements like that, because all of this is being run direct. What I'm hearing here is I hear coming out of the speakers here, and it sounds louder than it probably does on the other end. And so, but the keyboard sounds lower, and the keyboard sounds louder on your end. So that's, you have to find what works for you. It's kind of fickle that way, so it takes time. At least that's been my case. It's a lot easier to be able to perform live somewhere. You don't have to worry about all that stuff, But that's how it works here. Not sure what's going on. Just kind of going through the motions and trying to do the best you can. Hopefully I answered that. I know I went on, but you start talking to me about music, we'll be here for another hour or so just talking about one simple thing. It's like, how can you talk about a music? It's like, it's a funny thing because it's like, music? How do you talk about music? How do you really talk about music? It's sort of like, was it the expression? It says, talking about music is sort of like dancing about architecture. Think about that for a moment. It's true. Yeah. But, the technicalities, you can talk about that for sure. Yep. Keyboard is slightly louder, but it doesn't sound that way on this end. That's what I'm saying. That's the whole thing I'm talking about. I know that it sounds louder on the other end, but it doesn't sound that way here while I'm playing it. My voice sounds louder than it does, but my voice doesn't sound as loud on the other end. I'm running everything direct, and that's the reason why it ends up like that, because you're not hearing what I'm hearing, because I'm getting monitor here. So my voice is above the keyboard, but because everything's running direct, I have to really boost the volume on the voice in order for it to be even with the keyboard sound on the other end. But what happens when I do that, it starts feeding back. And again, I have to have this really precise mic technique where I'm exactly not moving right in front of it, which is fine for speaking, but it's not for singing. Can't do it that way. And so, yeah, like I said, it's a lot easier to be able to run this stuff independently, where I can actually pick up the room for the voice and also run it direct, so it just sounds more ambient and more kind of floats above the music a little bit, because that's really what I like to hear. I like to be able to hear the sound of the instrument and the voice to be almost equal. The voice a little bit above the instrument, so I can really pay attention to pitch and nuance and stuff like that. Yeah. I was talking to Paul Garthwaite the other day, and he was going to help me try to work it out on the other end in real time, so I can do adjustments accordingly. And so, because the way I have to do it here, if I'm recording, I have to record it, and then I have to figure out, I have to incrementally try to adjust things. And it takes a long time to do that. It really does, because it seems that it just varies. It varies. Like at one time, it's like, oh, that sounds right, and then I'm still tinkering with it because I'm trying to adjust the levels that's most appropriate. And then I listen back again to the, recording to hear where things are at, and all of a sudden the sound changed, and it just became kind of just a little bit way too much after, especially if you do that for like an hour and a half, just going over the same things in order to try to, it's like, I'd never had those problems before. A lot of it, I think, has to do with this house that I'm in. I have aluminum wiring in here, and that aluminum wiring doesn't allow for a consistency of current flow, and it'll drop out. I've noticed what I recorded in the past at times when I've done live recordings, that certain times it just turned out okay. It turned out better. And also, before my computer went poo-poo, and then I had to use Windows 11. Windows 11, when it came on, when Microsoft brought Windows 11 in, it caused a lot of the programs that I was using, as well as a lot of other people, the programs that they were using, to go obsolete. And so I used to have other stuff that I used to compensate that, and I could hear it in real time. I didn't have to record it. I can hear it, but I can't do that now because I don't have the same things that I was working with before. I had an internal software preamp that I was using for a very long time, and it allowed me to be able to hear what was going on while I was doing it. I could adjust it by doing that, but I can't do that anymore because I don't have any of that anymore. So it's just I've been kind of flying blind with a lot of this stuff here lately. Yeah, touring, going out and touring, and playing live. I don't have to worry about microphones or plugging stuff in. That's the agenda. That's on the agenda. Also, there is going to be effort towards creating a congregation. In other words, you can use the word church. Church is a ecclesiastical term, which means called out ones. So I'm going to be starting a church as a foundation from which to work out of, and where people can congregate and come together. So that's another thing that's on the list. That's one of the important ones. So well, thanks, Ralph. I'm just reading what you guys are writing, okay? So thank you, Daphne. Thank you, Ralph. I guess it's with fine-tuning, practice, calibrating. Yeah, it's a process. Yeah, Indigo. Definitely a process, and it depends on what you're working with and what you're using. It's not so much what you're using, it's just becoming very familiar with it. And for me, I was like, I like things simple, and because I want to focus on the art, I want to focus on the music, I want to focus on that. I don't want to focus on engineering. It just takes up your energy, and then tired and you don't want to do what you know, what what you know to do, what's right for you to do. I don't like wearing a bunch of hats, but finding something that's simple enough so that you know you can replicate it simply as possible. Working online and doing this stuff, it's been a lot more complicated than it has ever been. I mean, when we go off and perform somewhere, it's like, okay, a little PA system or something like that, and you just get out there, and as long as you can hear yourself, and your sound is, well, satisfactory to you, because every venue, every situation, it's going to be different. But if you can have some kind of consistency where you just kind of plug and play, and then doesn't take long for you to dial it in, so you can get on with what really matters, is really what's important in regard to all this. So finding whatever works for you, keep it as simple as possible, and yeah, just go with it like that. Well, I appreciate that, Ralph. But I'm an eccentric, melancholy personality. I'm an artist. We're like that. You can say eccentric. Are you eccentric, Randy? Of course. Alrighty, folks. I would like to stick around. Um, I'm enjoying my time here listening to you folks talk and reading what you're saying. But I'm also getting quite tired here. So plus like I said, my neck. I'm having a lot of stress pain because I have the upper cervical instability that I've had ever since 6 months old. So uh, just sitting and not even moving around, just the weight of my shoulders starts to bother me. I don't know, I've been here for a couple hours now, so. I like the way that you put that, Ralph. I like the way you put that. Um, Sounds like something I would say. Uh, all right, folks. I guess I could recap in case you know it was kind of missed. Not the things that I did previously, but what we're talking about in regard to future plans, which is pretty much present plans. Um, Church. I'm going to look to start a church as a foundational location, preferably. However, it's going to begin within the homes, and it's going to be shared within those who wish to be part of that. They can open up their home, and that can be shared. And going on tour, musical tour, and so these are the things that are prominently uh, taking place presently in regard to intention. I don't know how these things are, well, like I kind of know how some of it's going to happen, but um, Personally, anytime I've done anything, it's never been like, let's plan it out, then we'll do it. It's like, no, that my life really never allowed for that. So I just know that if you're going to do something, now's the time. It's always in the moment. So that's the preparation. So there's a preparation for this, and I will inform you as it progresses. And might I say, if you wish to be part of it, please let me know, and let your yes be yes and your no be no, okay? Because if somebody tells me something, I'm going to believe them. But if things change, make sure you let me know. I've had individuals in the past, and this has actually been a common thing, where people say they're going to do something, then they don't. It's like, let your yes be yes, let your no be no. It's really that simple, you know. But if you're interested, let me know. Give it some thinking, give it some thought, feel into it, see whether or not this is something that connects with you. And then let me know if you're interested. Oh, I got that over there. Well, yeah, thank you, Ralph. Um, that reminded me of a song that I wrote not too long ago, about a month or so ago. It's called One Breath, One Song, One Mystery. Alrighty then, I'm going to go ahead and sign off, folks. I need to take care of my physicality. So, love you all. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you, everybody, for a super chat. Thank you for your presence. Thank you for your support. Thank you for being here and being able to share and open up your heart. It means a great deal to me. And I thank you, everybody. Thank you, Daphne. Thank you, everybody. All right. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and say bye. All right, folks. See you next time. I'm probably going to be doing this again tomorrow. Just to let you know, I'm going to try to be consistent with this as much as I can. Just as a footnote, I mean, the computer crashed on me or went down a couple times and had to be repaired 2 times already. And it's acting up the same as it did before. So I'm trying to squeeze all this stuff that needs to be done on the computer while it's still working, because I don't trust it at this point. It's an old computer. And I mean, it's like, what, 17 years old now? So, you know. So I'm going to try to be on here as much as I can, at least once a day. All right. Just keep you up to date what's going on. And most of it's going to be improvised. If I come on, I'm not going to have anything planned. I'll figure it out during the time that I'm doing it or whatever, if I need to do anything at all. So just be here so people can actually congregate and, share with one another and, be a part of what's going on in the moment. So there it is. All right, folks. Blessings to you. We'll see you again.